What if the most powerful pharmacy on earth has never required a prescription, never charged you a copay, and has been sitting in your kitchen, your garden, or your backyard this entire time, just waiting for you to remember what it is for? Here's the thing that nobody in the $500 billion wellness industry wants you to sit with for too long. For thousands of years before the supplement aisle, before the pill bottle, before the lab coat became the symbol of authority over your own body, human beings maintained extraordinary vitality using the plants that God placed in the earth at the very beginning of creation, not because they were primitive, because they were paying attention. The book of Revelation, chapter 22, verse 2 says this, "And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations." That is not decoration, that is design. And today on Eden Roots, we are going to walk through 7 of the most powerful, most sacred, and most forgotten healing herbs ever recorded, plants mentioned in the oldest scriptures in human history, plants that kings used and wise men carried as gifts worthy of the Son of God himself. Before we go any further, if this kind of ancient, rooted wisdom is what you have been searching for, please subscribe to Eden Roots right now and hit the notification bell. Every week, this channel goes deeper into God's original blueprint for your health, your food, and your whole life. And I want to ask you something before we even begin. Which one of these 7 herbs do you already have in your kitchen right now, but have never fully understood? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and your answer might be exactly what someone else in this community needed to see today. Now, a quick, important word before we dive in. Everything shared on this channel is for educational and informational purposes only. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your wellness routine, especially if you are managing a health condition or taking medication. We are here to inform, not to replace professional medical care. That said, let us walk into the garden together. Herb number 1, Hyssop, the purifier of the respiratory temple. Psalm 51 verse 7. David, the man after God's own heart, did not pray for antibiotics when he cried out for restoration. He prayed, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean." That is not just poetry. That is botanical knowledge wrapped in the language of faith. Hyssop, known scientifically as Hyssopus officinalis, is one of the most referenced purification plants in all of Scripture. It was used in ceremonial cleansing rituals across the Old Testament, not because ancient priests were being poetic, but because they had observed through generations of lived experience what modern science is only now confirming. Hyssop is one of nature's most powerful natural antimicrobials. Here is what this herb does inside your body's temple. The volatile oils in hyssop, particularly pinocamphone and isopinocamphone, act as expectorants. That means they break up and loosen mucus from the lungs and bronchial passages, clearing the airways the way a current of clean water clears a clogged stream. If you have ever woken up feeling heavy in your chest, struggling to take a full deep breath, or fighting through a lingering cough that synthetic medicine only suppresses, hyssop works from the inside out. It sweeps your respiratory system clean. Beyond the lungs, hyssop has been studied for its antiviral and antibacterial activity, showing effectiveness against certain bacteria that colonize the digestive tract. It soothes inflamed throats. It calms the mucosal lining of airways. And it does all of this without the drowsy, foggy aftermath of conventional antihistamines. God placed a broom in the earth long before your lungs needed sweeping. Its name is hyssop. Brew 1 teaspoon of dried hyssop in hot water for 10 minutes. Breathe in the steam first and drink it slowly. Let your body remember what clean feels like. And now we move from purification to protection, because herb number 2 is one of the 3 most sacred substances ever carried by human hands. Herb number 2, myrrh, the ancient guardian of your cells. When the wise men made their journey to Bethlehem, they did not bring things that were simply expensive. They brought things that carried both meaning and medicine. Myrrh was one of those 3 gifts, And if something was considered worthy of being placed before the King of Kings at the moment of his birth, it is worth asking seriously, what does it actually do? Myrrh, the resin of the Commiphora myrrha tree, has been used for over 5,000 years across Egyptian, Greek, Roman, and Hebrew traditions as a healing agent. And modern phytochemistry has now confirmed what those ancient civilizations knew through generations of practice. Myrrh contains terpenoid compounds that demonstrate remarkable anti-inflammatory activity. But here is where it becomes urgent for the world we are living in right now. Myrrh is one of the highest antioxidant natural substances ever studied. Antioxidants exist to neutralize free radicals, unstable molecules generated every single day by the processed food supply, air pollution, chronic stress, and the relentless electromagnetic environment of modern life. Free radical damage is at the root of accelerated aging, chronic disease, and cellular breakdown. It is the slow fire that burns through your temple when no one is attending to it. Myrrh steps in as a cellular guardian. Research has confirmed its power in oral and gum health, wound healing, and most significantly, its immunomodulatory properties, meaning it helps your immune system find its balance rather than swinging between overreaction and exhaustion. In a world where autoimmune conditions are rising at alarming rates, that kind of intelligent immune calibration is not optional. It is essential. You can find pure myrrh tinctures at most natural health stores. Mix a few drops in water and use it as a daily oral rinse. Your mouth, your cells, and your immune system will feel the difference. Stay with me, because herb number 3 is the one most people know only from the outside of their body, and it is time to understand what it can do on the inside. Herb number 3, aloe, the living water for your inner landscape. Most Americans know aloe vera as the green gel they reach for after a sunburn. That is the smallest possible expression of what this plant was created to do. In John chapter 19, verse 39, aloe, referred to in the ancient world simply as aloes, appears at one of the most sacred moments in all of Scripture, the burial preparation of Jesus. Nicodemus brought it in an amount described as about 100 pounds. This was not a casual gesture. Aloe was among the most precious and healing substances in the ancient world, reserved for royalty and sacred rites. The aloe plant produces 2 distinct substances, the clear inner gel and a protective latex layer beneath the skin. The inner gel, when consumed in its pure form, is one of the most soothing and restorative substances for your digestive system that exists anywhere in nature. Here is why that matters beyond digestion. Your gut is where 70% of your immune function lives. It is where 90% of your serotonin, the neurotransmitter that governs mood, emotional regulation, and mental clarity, is produced. Researchers and gastroenterologists increasingly describe the gut as the second brain, and a growing body of evidence connects the state of your intestinal lining to everything from depression to autoimmune disease to chronic fatigue. Aloe vera gel contains polysaccharides, particularly a compound called acemannan, that coat and repair the mucosal lining of the esophagus, stomach, and intestines. If you deal with acid reflux, gastric discomfort, irritable bowel syndrome, or the kind of bloating that makes you feel like your body is working against you, aloe is a healing balm for the inner walls of your temple that no synthetic antacid can replicate. Drink 2 to 4 ounces of pure inner fillet aloe vera juice, not the sweetened, diluted commercial versions, before a meal each morning. Your gut has been waiting for it. Herb number 4, garlic, the ancient shield of your blood and your heart. Numbers chapter 11, verse 5. When the children of Israel were wandering in the wilderness and growing restless, do you know what they longed for? The text records it plainly. We remember the fish we ate in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. Out of everything they left behind in Egypt, garlic made the list. That tells you something about how deeply it was woven into daily life. The The ancient Egyptians fed garlic to the workers who built the pyramids to sustain strength and endurance under extreme conditions. Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, prescribed it for a range of conditions. It has been used medicinally across virtually every culture in recorded human history, and now we know exactly why. Garlic's primary active compound is allicin, a sulfur-containing molecule released when a garlic clove is crushed or chopped. Allicin is one of the most potent natural antibiotics ever studied, disrupting the cell membranes of harmful bacteria and showing effectiveness even against strains that are resistant to certain conventional pharmaceuticals. But garlic's power extends far beyond killing pathogens. Multiple clinical studies have demonstrated that regular garlic consumption measurably reduces blood pressure. It lowers LDL cholesterol. It inhibits excessive platelet aggregation, keeping blood flowing cleanly and reducing the risk of stroke and heart disease. And something rarely discussed in mainstream wellness content, garlic is a powerful anti-parasitic. In a world where global food supply chains expose us to organisms our ancestors never encountered, garlic remains one of the most reliable, time-tested tools for maintaining a clean and defended internal environment. Crush 2 cloves of raw garlic and let them rest for 10 minutes. Before eating, this allows the allicin to fully form. Consume them with food to protect your stomach lining. Do this daily. Your heart is the center of your temple. Guard it with the herb that God's own people remembered in the wilderness. You just heard 4 herbs that cleanse, protect, and heal from the inside out. Now here is the one that most Americans are unknowingly accumulating damage from, and the ancient plant that directly reverses it. Herb number 5, cilantro, the heavy metal magnet your brain desperately needs right now. Exodus chapter 16 verse 31 describes manna, the supernatural food God provided in the wilderness, as looking like coriander seed. Of all the things in the created world that the text could have compared to, God's miraculous provision was likened to the seed of the cilantro plant. That detail is not accidental. Now here is where things become urgent for the specific reality of 2026. We live in a world saturated with heavy metals, lead from aging infrastructure and certain industrial coatings, mercury from large fish like tuna and swordfish eaten weekly, aluminum from cookware, antiperspirants, and certain processed foods, arsenic from groundwater in agricultural regions. These metals accumulate in your tissues over years and decades. They do not simply pass through. They lodge in your fat cells, your nervous system, your liver, and most disturbingly, your brain. Heavy metal accumulation has been linked to cognitive decline, neurological disorders, unexplained fatigue, hormone disruption, and a host of chronic inflammatory conditions that conventional medicine often struggles to diagnose or explain. This is one of the most under-recognized health burdens of the modern era. Cilantro is one of a very small number of foods on Earth with the documented ability to chelate heavy metals, meaning it binds to them at the molecular level and escorts them out of your body through your natural elimination pathways. Certain flavonoids and aldehyde derivatives in cilantro essentially function as molecular handcuffs, attaching to mercury, lead, and aluminum, and pulling them out of your tissues. For anyone who eats fish regularly, lives or works in an urban environment, or has spent years consuming a standard American diet, incorporating fresh cilantro daily is one of the most protective things you can do for your brain and liver. Add a generous handful to salads, smoothies, or eat it straight. That earthy, slightly citrusy taste is the flavor of your body releasing what was never meant to stay. Your brain is part of your temple. Protect it with the herb that God compared to his most miraculous provision. Herb number 6, frankincense, the bridge between your body and your spirit. When the wise men carried frankincense to Bethlehem alongside myrrh and gold, they were bringing something that had been used for millennia, not only as sacred incense, but as medicine for the mind. Frankincense, the resin of the boswellia tree, was burned in temples across the ancient world, not only for its holy aroma, but because its smoke was understood to carry effects on consciousness, emotion, and the spirit. Modern neuroscience has confirmed something remarkable about this. A compound called incensol acetate, found in frankincense smoke, activates specific ion channels in the brain that reduce anxiety and depression. Researchers who studied this described it as a previously unknown psychoactive mechanism, one that promotes emotional warmth, inner quietness, and a sense of spiritual openness. Ancient priests burning frankincense before the altar were not simply performing ritual, they were pharmacologically preparing the space for encounter. But frankincense's most significant therapeutic property for the body itself is its content of boswellic acids, compounds with a precise and powerful anti-inflammatory mechanism, unlike ibuprofen, which broadly suppresses inflammation enzymes and gradually damages the stomach lining with repeated use. Boswellic acids selectively inhibit a specific enzyme called 5-lipoxygenase. This enzyme drives the kind of chronic, low-grade inflammation at the root of arthritis, inflammatory bowel conditions, brain fog, and joint deterioration. For anyone managing chronic pain, stiffness, or the mental fog that settles in after years of inflammatory diet and stress, Boswellia extract, the supplemental form of frankincense, offers real, studied relief without the long-term costs of pharmaceutical options. And here is the dimension that no supplement label will ever capture. Frankincense creates stillness. When you use it in your prayer time, in your devotional hours, in the quiet before your day begins, you are not simply burning incense. You are using the same sacred plant that priests carried before the altar of the living God to quiet the noise between your ears and restore the frequency of peace. The temple was always meant to be a place of encounter. Frankincense helps your body become one again. And now, herb number 7, the one growing uninvited in your front yard that most Americans have spent years poisoning with herbicide. This might be the most important one of all. Herb number 7, dandelion, the bitter truth your liver has been waiting for. Exodus chapter 12, verse 8. On the night of Passover, the most sacred meal in all of Jewish history, the meal that marked deliverance and freedom, God gave specific instructions for what was to be served alongside the lamb. He said to eat it with bitter herbs, not sweet, not savory, bitter, on purpose. There is a reason for that instruction that goes far deeper than taste. In the modern American diet, bitterness has been almost completely engineered out of existence. Food manufacturers have spent decades learning that sweet and salty sell, while bitter is rejected. And so an entire generation of people has grown up without the biological stimulus that bitter foods provide, one of the most critical triggers for liver function, bile production, and digestive health. The result is a widespread epidemic of sluggish livers, impaired detoxification, hormonal backup, and a low-grade toxic load that manifests as stubborn weight gain, chronic fatigue, poor skin, and hormone imbalance. And the cure has been growing in every untreated yard in America for free. Every single spring, dandelion root and leaf stimulate the production and flow of bile, the digestive fluid your liver produces to break down fats and carry toxins out of your body. When bile flow is sluggish, toxins recirculate instead of being eliminated. Hormones pile up instead of being processed. Your entire system operates under a burden it was never designed to carry continuously. Beyond its role in liver support, dandelion is extraordinarily rich in vitamins A, C, K, and the full B complex, along with minerals including calcium, potassium, and iron. It is not simply a liver herb. It is one of the most nutritionally complete plants you will ever encounter, and the modern world has been mowing it down and spraying it with poison. Dandelion root tea, taken 30 minutes before meals, is one of the simplest and most effective ways to awaken your liver, prime your digestive fire, and restore the bitter stimulus that your body was designed to receive and has been denied for decades. Reclaim the bitter. It is one of the most countercultural, body-liberating acts of faith you can commit to in 2026. Now here is the philosophy underneath all 7 of these herbs, because without this, we are just talking about plants. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verses 19 and 20 says, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore honor God with your bodies." That single passage is the entire foundation of what Eden Roots is built upon. Not the idea that your body is a problem to be managed. Not the belief that symptoms are simply inconveniences to be suppressed with the next product on the shelf, but the sacred understanding that your physical body is a dwelling place and you are called as a steward to tend to it, honor it, and restore it back to its intended wholeness. When you reach for a plant that God created, you are not simply choosing a natural alternative to a pharmaceutical. You are participating in a form of communication. Plants speak the language of the body because they were designed by the same creator who designed the body. The molecular structures of these herbs fit into receptors in your cells the way a key fits into a lock because they were made for each other in the same original act of creation. Synthetic compounds can override your body's systems. God's herbs align them. There is also a stewardship dimension that every follower of Eden Roots carries. Every time you choose a healing herb with intention and gratitude over a chemical compound chosen out of desperation and habit, you are making a declaration. I believe that the Creator knew exactly what He was doing when He filled this earth with living medicine. I trust that design. I choose to work with creation rather than against it. That is not a rejection of science. That is the deepest possible form of faith in the author of all science. 7 herbs, thousands of years of wisdom. One message for you today. Your temple is worth more than the next trending supplement. It is worth more than a 2-week elimination diet or another bottle of something that promises transformation in 30 days. Your body was designed for wholeness, deep, cellular, spiritual, sustained wholeness. And the path back to that wholeness has always run through the garden. Hyssop to purify your breath, myrrh to protect your cells, aloe to heal the inner walls of your gut, garlic to guard your heart and your blood, cilantro to cleanse your brain of what the modern world has deposited there, frankincense to quiet your spirit and fight the slow fire of chronic inflammation, dandelion to awaken your liver and reclaim the bitter gift that your ancestors understood and your body still needs. This week, choose just one. Whichever one your body is quietly calling for you, probably already know which one it is. Add it intentionally, prepare it with care, receive it with gratitude, and then pay attention because your body will begin to speak to you in ways you have forgotten how to hear. The garden has always been open. The herbs have always been waiting. It is time to come home to your roots. Now I want to hear from you. Which one of these 7 herbs do you already have in your kitchen right now? And did you know it had this kind of power? Leave a comment below. Seriously, one answer. Right now, your comment might be exactly what someone else scrolling through this page needed to see today. If this video opened something in you, if it reminded you of something you somehow already knew in your bones, please share it with someone you love, someone who is tired, someone who has been looking for answers in all the wrong places, someone whose temple is ready to be restored. And if you are not yet part of the Eden Roots family, subscribe right now. Every single week, we go deeper into God's original design for your health. Ancient herbs, biblical nutrition, sacred foods, and the wisdom that the modern world forgot, but your soul still remembers. You were made for the garden. We will see you back here next week.